Hello again, this is Egle, and today I'm going to introduce you my simple maze game, which right now is at the very simple stage, but it seems to be working. Well, as I've said, it's very simple, so I only use the IO string library, and of course I had first of all to define my variables that I'm going to use here. I have these constant character variables, which is the width and height of my maze, because I'm not going to want to change these numbers during the whole program, so they're constant. And then I have my player, which is also a character, since it's going to be just one symbol, and the symbol is going to be a smiley, because I have put the number 1 into these curly brackets, and that means that in this American symbol system something, this means a smiley. Then I have position X and position Y of my player, and those are integers because I'm gonna need numbers for those. And so far I've set it to be 1 and 1, so this is my primary position of the player. And then I have another one for action, which is the actions that my player is gonna perform. This is the actual function where I'm gonna define how the actions work. And I also here have a little struct for enemies, which I have 3. I chose to make it a struct because, well, I have 3 enemies, and all 3 of them are gonna have the same values or whatever. So I just decided it would be efficient to have them all in one structure. Okay, this part is my actual maze, and this is a 2D array, which consists of the height and width, the 2 constants that I've defined before. Basically, a hash means wall, and a space means a space. So this is where my character is able to walk around. Yep. This is where the main function starts, and what I have here is a while loop, which is working as long as the Q key is not pressed. And what happens in the loop is that, well, it's just some guidance for the player. This line here traces out my player in the map, and since the position X and position Y has been defined as 1 for starters, that means that my player is gonna end up right here. And yeah, this part here runs my 2D array, and it says as long as the Y is less than height, Y plus plus, and so on. And same with width, and eventually my maze is being drawn on the screen. The next part is where I define my 3 enemies. As I've said before, they're basically the same, except they have different parameters, and those are the symbol, which represents the enemy. This is X for the first one, Y, and Z for the third one. And another thing that's different is their position in regards to X and Y. As you can see, this one is 3 and 6, 8 and 1, 17 and 6. I just kind of made it random, so they would be all around the maze. Okay, and Here I call the player action function, which I actually define a little bit lower, but this whole while loop is in the beginning of the code because every time I make some kind of action, I want my my character and my enemies and my maze to be refreshed and redrawn. Okay, so this is the player action function. It just asks the player to enter one of those 4 keys for direction, then it memorizes it, and I'm gonna talk about this part a little bit later because I'm gonna use it in the switch. So this is the switch function for actions of my player, and I have 4 different cases for each of the letters. Oh yeah, and of course I have the default one in case the player decides to press another key and then the program chases out incorrect action and does nothing. The player doesn't move. So what I have here is an if statement for each letter. This means that first of all, I have to check whether the field that I want to move my player to is not a hash. And so if the future position is not equal to hash, then I increase the value of the position depending on which direction I'm going to. Let's talk about D. So D means that I want to move my player to the right, and that means that Y has to increase by 1. Oops. Yeah. I have this line here just for the sake of clarity for myself. I can actually comment it out because it's not really useful anymore. It's just I wanted to have this to see if this piece of code works. So I just traced out the position X and position Y to see if my player has moved. But oh yeah, I had a little bit of difficulty figuring out how to remove the trace of my character, because every time I would move it, it would just copy the smiley face, and eventually the whole map would be filled up with smiley faces. But then I defined these new variables, which I call previous position X and previous position Y, and I included the small line in here, which basically converts my previous smiley face into a space, because the space is a character and 32 means a space in the American International Symbols System, something. Okay, so yeah, I can comment out all of these, and this one too. And after each case, I just have a system clear screen in order to clear the screen and redraw my map. Not the map, the maze, I mean. And yep, this is basically it. Well, it's not very fancy, but I can show how the function actually works. Yeah. It's walking around. I have my 3 enemies here, but unfortunately I didn't have time or more patience to make them dangerous or evil. So for now they're just there, but when I have more free time, I'm gonna try to figure out how to make them do something, like maybe implement a health or something for my player, so this game would eventually end, because right now it's just kind of never ending. Oh, if I press any other kind of key, it says incorrect action. And yeah, that's just it so far. But it took me quite a while to make it work, and I was really glad when my player actually started working around without any complications. So I guess this is it. Thanks for watching.